Welcome to Beyond the Silence, where truth has a voice and culture meets conviction. I'm your host, Elsa John, and together, we're confronting the issues that shape our world, one honest conversation at a time. In today's episode, we are taking a closer look at how our culture impacts the trajectories of our life. Our culture puts such a great expectation on us when it comes to career, what our lives should look like, what our family should look like, what our kids should look like. And so today, joining me is my friend Amy. Amy, thank you so much for being with us here today. I really appreciate you taking your time out. It is really important in our culture, especially South Indian culture, to have these conversations that are not fun, that are difficult, that a lot of people want to avoid because they just want us to kind of go with the flow of things. They don't want us to challenge anything. They don't want us to ruffle any feathers. But this podcast is about ruffling feathers. It is about going against the current of culture. It is about challenging cultural norms and what we've been passed on from generation to generation. So I know some of these topics are going to be difficult, but I really do appreciate you being here to talk about some of these things.
Thank you for thinking of me and having me on your podcast. It truly means so much.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your family. Just introduce yourselves and the culture that you grew up in.
Yeah, so my name's Amy. I've been married 16 and a half years. I have two boys, Shane and Andrew. They're 9 and 11 years old, and also a dog named Casey. I have been an occupational therapy assistant for 17 years, and now I've been a postpartum doula for 5 years. And so I grew up in a South Indian family where faith was important, culture, honor, reputation. These things were very valued. Success was defined very clearly by your education, your career, your marriage status, your stability. I believe there was always love, but also pressure to meet expectations, not time to question things. And you were just taught to kind of like endure.
You're the only postpartum doula that I know that is a Malayali South Indian, by the way. I'm curious to see how many Malayali Indian postpartum doulas do you know? I think you're probably going to say zero. So I'll let you answer that in a couple of minutes. So how did this culture that we grew up in, how did it influence your faith?
So I feel like my culture shaped my faith in both beautiful and complicated ways is the best way I can say it. There was a strong emphasis on doing what was right, discipline, honoring authority. And so that translated in honestly how I viewed God. And so I would say it blurred out and kind of became like this performance-based faith. And I really looked at it like that rather than resting in grace for a really long time.
In this culture that puts a lot of pressure and teaches us how to respect and honor authority, not question, you really do as you're told. How are you taught to face trials and struggles and pain?
Yeah, so struggle wasn't something you talked about openly. Pain was something you carried quietly. You didn't want to bring shame to your family or appear weak. And so instead of asking for help, you're just kind of taught and learned to just push through. And that's what I did for a long, long time until I couldn't do it anymore.
What are some things that you love about the Indian culture?
Yeah. So I love the Indian culture. I'm actually back at the Indian church and there's reasons why. And so there's much I love. I believe that we have a very strong sense of family. I am biased in this, but I believe like we top the rate on hospitality.
Mhm.
That's just my biased opinion. Generosity. I feel like we give perseverance. I feel like the work ethic in our Indian culture is top notch. There's a deep respect for elders. I love the clothes. I love tradition. I, of course, most love the food. I think our food is the best. And I will always say that, like, if I'm having a bad day, like, I'm getting Indian food. Like, that's for me, you know? So there's a lot I love about the Indian culture.
Yeah, I love that. Was faith in Jesus a core part of your upbringing? And how did that impact you?
Yeah, so my grandfather left his home at a very young age for the gospel, and he suffered greatly for the faith. He lost his own father to suicide because of shame,
Oh,
and
wow.
so the shame that it brought to the family. And my dad is also a pastor, so church was a big part of our lives. I kind of laugh about it, like thinking of all the extracurricular activities like my kids are in and, my friends' kids are in because church was our extracurricular
That's
activity.
right, exactly.
As I grew older, though, I realized faith couldn't be this thing I just piggybacked on my father and my grandfather's faith. It had to become something personal for me and a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's right. I'm so sorry to hear that about you said your grandfather.
Mhm.
That is a topic that is not talked about. Suicide is just not talked about at all,
Mhm.
like a lot of topics, which is the
Right,
purpose of this podcast is to
right,
address topics that are not spoken of. And
exactly.
people struggle silently. So many of us struggle through similar things. And so thank you for even sharing that because that is
Yeah,
even a shameful history to have in your family. That is not
right.
something you lead with. So I appreciate that. Can you share a time when you struggled with your faith and how did the Indian culture play a role in that difficulty?
There's been many times over the years I've struggled with my faith, honestly. Culturally, I didn't have the language for the layered pain. You're kind of just taught to keep functioning, not to pause and to ask all of it that it's doing to you. So my struggle was like never losing my belief in God, but it was like learning that I could bring him my exhaustion, my like the struggles that I had with depression and without having to clean up first and be perfect. And because I'm not, and none of us are. And so I think it was more about learning how to come to Jesus just as I am.
You mentioned depression, and
Mhm.
that's like the second trigger word that we don't talk about. We don't
Yeah.
highlight those things. We don't ask for help in those things. We don't go to therapy. We don't have counseling. And if we do, it is so shameful to admit
Right.
that you were at a point that you needed help. So,
Yeah.
again, thank you for your vulnerability and
Yeah.
sharing that. I want to talk a little bit more about your family. You have two beautiful boys. What can you tell me about your journey in motherhood?
Yeah. Motherhood started really rough for me. After my miscarriage, I went through a really, really dark season with that. And then I got pregnant and had my son Shane, and I experienced a very severe postpartum depression. And that was with my son in 2014. And I almost lost my life to that.
Wow.
Um, and honestly, like when I even talk to you, like I still remember you coming to my house and you told me to go take a shower while you held Shane, and those were the times I felt seen. I never will forget the people that were there for me in that season of my life. It was really, really rough. And I'm so glad to be on the other side of it, honestly. And then in 2016, after my second son was born, it worsened. All you hear during motherhood is like, enjoy every moment. And I'm like, there are these moments that are really, really hard. Every time I would go and try to get help, it was like, even by professionals, it was dismissed. Like, it's just cold outside. It's the weather and all this
Mhm.
stuff, which that was true. But I definitely felt like something was worse. And so in 2017, my boys, we would go for walks and we would go to the park and these yellow flower we call them flowers, but they're really weeds. But like they would bring them to me and I would feel seen and a dose of encouragement and this like joy came when they did that. And so I started a small ministry called One Mother to Another. And in that, what I started doing was I started giving flowers randomly to moms. We would be in Aldi and I would see a mom that had 4 or 5 kids and we would just give flowers. And then there's moms who were in the NICU. We would go and make care packages. And there was moms with kids with special needs and we would do that. And moms who were struggling with depression. And I was going to be a blessing to people. But what ended up happening was like I got a blessing from seeing moms and giving these things to moms. And they were small things, but once I would do it, I would feel this joy, and it just made me want to keep doing it over and over again.
Mhm.
Still in my career path of an occupational therapy assistant, all the way to 2020. And in 2021, I lost my cousin to suicide after 6 months, after
Wow.
her having her baby. That changed the course of my whole life. Like it changed everything for me. And it just I told God like I want to have a job that is where I can help and be a blessing to moms. And he led me to this career. And I can honestly tell you, like, it has never been a hustle for me. Literally, he has opened every door. And now I've been doing this for 5 years. So
Wow.
this is my journey as a mom. And I never use the slogan like enjoy every moment. I'm more of a mom that like there's hard and good in every season. And that's
Yeah.
kind of how I go.
You said you started a small ministry from one
Yeah.
mother to another. When you lost your cousin, is the change that happened in that existing ministry, or did you start something new, like a new ministry or a new business from that?
Yeah, so I we just keep going with it. After she passed away, what we did was we wanted to do it in her honor. She was 33 years old when she passed away.
Wow.
So we sent out 33 packages after she passed away and just all over the country. That's what we did. And then now what I do is I will randomly have it with my boys where I'm like, let's go do it again. And we have done it again and again. And the beauty of it is, honestly, is like we've never had to even ask funds for it.
Wow.
Like God will just honestly put he on people's hearts to give to the ministry, and it's like it's always been an overflow. Like I've always had enough for the next time I would do it. And that's kind of how it's rolled. I've never even asked once for funds, and God has just given me every resource to be able to do it for moms. He has a heart for moms, and I believe that's one of my main callings in my life is to share that is that God has a heart for moms.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And God certainly has a heart for moms. What are some cultural expectations that
Yes.
being a South Indian woman that our culture has put on you for being a mom, for having a career, all of those things, the different hats that you wear?
Yeah, there are expectations from especially us that have grown up in this country because there's the American culture where we're taught to bounce back, get back to work in six
Yeah,
weeks. And then there is ours where it's like, why are you crying? Why are you sad? Like you have a baby boy. Like these were things I
right.
got told, your baby's not eating enough, your baby's too small. These are the things that and so we're being hit with, and so we're kind of getting it from both ends, honestly, and especially not talking about mental health. And so that silence can be so heavy. You feel it very, very heavily.
So when this happened with when your cousin passed away and you have a another loved family member that passed away, your grandfather, did you make a connection with those two in your mind? Was that struggle connected to both events?
So it's interesting because the grandfather is on my dad's side, right? The great grandfather that died by
Mhm.
suicide. The cousin that passed away is on my mom's side. So the connection I made from that was that I come from a family of encouragers and world changers, but I feel like because of that, Satan hits us where our ministry is at and
Mhm.
where our love is at. Like when I look at my cousin was a huge mental health advocate. Like
Wow.
she would, even though she was like struggling through so much, like she tried to be that mental health advocate and try to encourage people even when she was in pain, you know?
Mhm.
So I definitely believe like I come from a family of encouragers, and this is where Satan has hit us at. And so many of my cousins, uncles have gone through similar struggles with
Mhm.
depression. What I got from that was that it stops with me, like my bloodline. I was like, you know what? I need help. And so I went to counseling and I said, I break that in the name of Jesus for my boys and their kids and their kids. But if my kids ever struggled with this this specifically, counseling is there. Resources are there, and I'm going to give those resources for them. And so that is what I got that it stops with me.
That's right. I 100% agree. Like, I don't want there to be shame for asking for help.
Yes,
Everybody needs help in something.
yes,
And I wanna break that the thought process, or if I ask for help, there's something wrong with me and it's shameful. It's not. There are people
no,
trained to talk to people who struggle
yes,
with anger and sadness and depression and suicidal
yes,
ideations. Why
yes,
not use those resources? As soon as
yes,
Adam sinned, he broke that communication and that fellowship that he had with God in the garden, and he separated himself. And that's what the enemy wants. He wants
yes,
us to separate ourselves from community, from fellowship, and wants to make us think that we're alone, and we're not. We're not alone.
right.
We're not the only ones who struggle with these things. I'm so incredibly proud of you, and how encouraging and how empowering it is to hear a woman, an Indian, South Indian woman, who is taught to basically seen and not really be heard. Keep your opinions to yourself. Don't challenge authority. I'm saying no, it stops with me. We are going to
Yes,
talk about these things. We
right.
are going to challenge the culture, and we're going to stop with the next generation. It's not going to
Right.
continue. Now, I want to ask you, what impact has all of this journey with the depression, having a miscarriage, struggles with postpartum, and then your cousin's suicide? I mean, these are heavy topics individually, and then you pile them up into a few years of one person's life. It is really heavy. So, if you can, to the listener and to the viewer, what impact has this had on your marriage?
I will always say my husband is my best friend. While like a lot of people see me on the other side of, the struggles and the pain and all of that, they don't always see the person who stood by your side the whole time. And so
Hmm.
that's what my husband has been for me. Depression is hard in itself, but I also believe it's also very hard for the person that's walking through with you in that. And so I feel like he loved me the way he knew how to love me. And that is a lot of the reason, honestly, why I truly believe God used him to save my life in a lot of ways.
Wow.
So there's been a lot of hardships with that too. I'm not gonna lie. There's hardships with because it's a lot to carry. I want people to know depression is not your fault. Like there are so many factors that go into that. And it's more than just go and pray about it. Like it's more than that.
Hmm.
And so having somebody who actually saw me and saw that, you know what, I'm not like faking this to like get attention. I'm not
Hmm.
like no one wants this, man.
No,
You know what I mean?
no.
And so like see having somebody who actually saw me in it and saw for what it was and kept pushing me to I kept going even on days, moments like we were never given these words of postpartum depression,
Right.
even though
Yes.
like we come a line of from nurses in our family and just so many people in the medical field and we've had friends who've had but no one told us these parts of motherhood and
Right.
fatherhood and so I believe that like he he loved me the best with the knowledge he had in that season and has continued to love me and be there and be an active dad. He's not much in the spotlight. He doesn't have social media. He doesn't do all those things. But I think if someone saw him on a daily basis, they're like, man, this man loves his family well, and that's
Hmm.
what he's done for me.
Yeah, that's really amazing. When I was postpartum, like I think my son was maybe a few months old, my mind would be racing. I don't think I slept really consecutive days for maybe a couple of years. A few months right after he was born, I was driving to work and I was bombarded with these thoughts that I just wanted to drive into something. Now, I don't want to alarm anybody. I didn't have thoughts of hurting anybody, and I didn't actually even want to hurt myself. You know what I wanted? I just wanted to rest. I thought if I could
Yeah,
just get crash my car, I
yes,
could get taken to the hospital, and for a few days I could just sleep and somebody else
yeah,
could take care of my kid without me
yeah,
feeling guilty, or like feeling like I'm a bad mom and I failed these high expectations that I'm supposed to be this super mom and go to work and not sleep and, all these things.
right,
And I was telling my friend, and I don't share this with a lot of people because, again, it could be alarming language, right?
right,
And my friend was like, I think you have postpartum anxiety. And I'm like, what's that? And
yeah,
I'm a doc. Like
yeah,
I don't even have that language, in my arsenal to use for
right.
myself. And I
Right.
thought, and I just kind of went through the signs of anxiety and I was like, oh my goodness, I think it's true. I think I have
Yeah.
postpartum anxiety, but I would
Right.
never tell somebody that because it doesn't even make sense. It's not okay for me to be anxious about something because I'm a Christian and I'm not supposed to be anxious about anything. But I
Yeah.
needed help. And
Yeah.
when she said that and I acknowledged that, I thought, oh no, like I need to tell my counselor. Because at that time I
Mhm.
was already in counseling for other things. And I told my counselor, like, I think I have postpartum anxiety. Like, I think we need
Mhm.
to address this because
Right.
I'm so deprived of sleep that
Yeah.
I'm willing to crash my car, not to hurt myself, but
Right.
I
No,
just
I
wanted
get it.
everything to stop. Like, I wanted my responsibility to stop
Right.
without,
Right.
and it's just wild where our brain goes when we don't have rest and sleep. I love that your husband was so supportive. Our husbands, if they love the Lord, they are supportive in the way they know how. And I love that you added that too, because I think there's an expectation for them to perform a certain way, but they can only do what they know how to do and with
Right.
the resources that they have. So if they don't know how to help you through a miscarriage, if they don't know how to help you through certain losses and things like that, we just have to trust the Lord and trust that they are doing their best
Right.
with the capabilities that they have. Do you have a life verse? And if so, which one?
So my favorite is Isaiah 43:1, and it says, "Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I know you by name. You are mine." This verse reminds me that I'm known, I'm redeemed from my past, and I'm held by God. And I belong, like I belong to someone. I belong to Jesus. And so that has been a verse I have tend to go back to many, many times.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned you have this 5-year-old career. The Lord doesn't waste absolutely anything.
Exactly.
And he births things out of circumstances and times that are painful and difficult. So how do you see the Lord in your future? Like we were talking before, you're the only postpartum doula that I know. Like, do you know any other Malayali postpartum doulas?
I don't, but I hope to change that. Like, I have lots of visions and dreams, of things, and I'm a very big visionary, and so like
Mhm.
I've often wrote down my dreams. God has always been in my driver's seat. He has given me connections in this career that other colleagues will look at me and they're like, "How did you even get to talk to that doctor? He doesn't even like doulas." And doors will open like that. Like somebody will bring my name up in a conversation. That's how it's really been for me. I'm just speaking into existence with faith. Like I hope one day to have a postpartum hospital. Like I don't want moms to leave the hospital and just go home. If they don't have that support, like to be able to go somewhere where they'll be nourished with good food, where there's counseling if they need it, where they can bond with their baby, where they can bond with their spouse. I have often run into moms in the last 5 years that are not just postpartum depression, whether it's bipolar, whether it's like rage, all this stuff. I've run into that. And it's so hard because there are not hospitals that don't look like a jail cell. Like they're just sent to a psych ward. I would love to be able to one day have that. But I don't put limits on God when it comes to this stuff because
That's right.
I've just
Yes.
been like seeing like God has done his thing. And so even with our culture and our community, I want to be able to mentor. There was no blueprint for me. Like I
Right.
learned a lot through Google and just asking questions. And I didn't know how to start up a business. I didn't know any of that.
Yes.
I would just ask questions to random people like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do taxes with this? And so what I've been like impressed to do is to create like a mentorship program. So because I have had questions actually from our community of women who are like, "Hey, Amy, how did you get into this? Like, how do you
Mhm.
do this?" And when
Uh-huh.
I hear that question, there's a joy that comes in my heart because I'm like, man, more doulas means more moms being helped. And
Yes,
so
right.
I especially want to see it in our Indian community. Like I still remember the first time an Indian family reached out for help. It
Wow.
was one of the best. I can't even explain the joy like that I had, and they had other support. That's the thing as postpartum doulas, like we're not there to replace anybody. Like we are there to come alongside and be like a cheerleader for mom and dad. And that way we believe if mom and dad are fueled with the right food, with the right support, that they can thrive and their family can thrive. And
That's
so
right.
I always say that family actually had family here to help, but still wanted my support
Mhm.
to come alongside them. And from that point on, it's been so awesome. I think I'm on I want to say my sixth or seventh Indian family now.
No
Like it's
way.
just,
Wow.
yeah. So it's like, it's really become a norm. It's probably my greatest joy is to serve Indian clients. Yeah, I have a joy for that. And I hope in the future with all of this that we can have like a whole bunch of Indian doulas coming out and
Mhm.
people sharing and people loving on moms and dads, and families will thrive with the right support. I still remember when my Amachi was living, she had her baby in her teens and she said, I was only responsible for feeding my baby. You guys have it harder, like in that sense. And
Mhm.
I agree with that. We do because the whole village shows up in other countries. Like
Yeah,
there
that's
are
right.
postpartum hospitals in other countries, but we don't have it here. There's
Uh,
been times I've wanted to give up. God will like give me another idea or another connection. And I get really excited about that part. And I'm like, okay, God, if you're in the driver's seat, like if you tell me to end this career tomorrow, I'm okay with that. But
yeah.
He keeps bringing the right people, the right resources, and I just keep going.
Yeah, I hear the joy in your voice when you talk about it. I'm so excited to hear that a few Indian families have reached out to you. I wonder what their grandmothers and mothers think of them. I bet they're getting some judgment there too, but I'm so glad they're
Yeah.
doing it anyway, you know?
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Tell me some of the services that you do provide these families.
Yeah, so I do day shifts and night shifts right now. And so I actually just came back from a day shift. And
Mhm.
so what we will do is this morning I actually went grocery shopping for the family and then I went and made three different meals for them. I so we will fuel them with like, nourishing foods, warm foods, foods that will help mom, especially with breastfeeding, and give her
Mhm.
fuel. We're taught that, and so I actually got my certification this past year as a postpartum chef. And so
Congratulations. I saw that. I was waiting.
so I love food. And so I love bringing our cultural foods into these homes, and so that's been really awesome. And then for day shifts, what we'll do is we will hold baby and take care of baby while mom takes a hot shower, gets a warm meal. We will do light chores such as washing dishes, doing laundry, doing baby laundry, and a lot of it is the emotional support.
Mhm.
And that's what makes us different from like a lot of times there's like this overlap with nannies and babysitters
Yes.
and all that. Main big difference is that we are there for the moms. We are there for the parents. And so we love holding the babies. Like that is such a big part of taking care of these families and all of that. But we are here to hold the moms and dads. And so that's a big part of my career. And then night shifts kind of are there. My shifts are usually like from 10 to 6 a.m. And pretty much they will give me baby and they'll go to sleep. And I just take care of baby through the night. So
Wow.
so they wake up rested. I'm friends with my clients. I still check on them from 5 years ago. I'm very intentional about the moms I specifically take care of because I want them to know that they have a friend on their corner cheering them on.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's so important. Like, I think when you have a new baby, everybody sees the baby. And I did this the other day. I just saw a young lady that has a baby, and I immediately went to the baby and I was like, "Oh, it's good to see you." And a few seconds later, intentionally, I was like, I did not forget about you. You
Yeah,
are seen too. It's not just that you have this baby and now you're just
right.
this, milk producer
Yeah,
and chauffeur.
exactly.
You are seen. You were seen before and you are seen now. And you need
Yeah.
care and love and affection. You need all the same things that the
You
baby
need it
needs to
even more.
thrive.
Like, honestly, I go through this saying, like, it's on my website, it's everywhere, it's my motto. It's like everyone wants to hold the baby, but who holds the mom? It's been a very beautiful journey, honestly.
Yeah, that is really awesome. What would you say to a listener or a viewer as an encouragement?
Yeah, I would say, I know it sounds cliche, but keep going. If you're in a hard season, that feeling is valid. I never would have imagined that during those painful times in my life, that on the other side of this would be a place where I would be helping moms. And
Mhm.
this has become my main job. Like, this is my main career now. There is support, and that you don't have to do this alone. There are resources, there is help waiting. This is not your fault if you are going through some of those same struggles I've mentioned. And that's one of the things I wish someone would have told me, like straight up, like, this is not your fault
Hmm.
and you did nothing wrong, to go through postpartum depression. I wish someone would have said that. And there's counseling out there. I have a friend that her name's Eunice Simon. I went to her and she found like a lot of the root of the hormones and like what was going on there and put me on the right supplements, medication, things like that. And so there is that too. And if you have to take medication, it's okay. Like
It's okay.
I
That's
did
right.
too. I did too. I did it because I wanted to be here for my boys. I
That's
don't
right.
want to be another statistic or a story. I wanted to be here for Shane and Andrew. And so that's why I kept fighting. So I would say keep going.
It's so powerful to hear it from you, and it's so impactful for you to share that there's seasons that you needed medicine, there's seasons that you needed counseling, and they're all okay. I want to take away the stigma of needing medication for mental health. I don't like to shove meds down people's throats and saying that's going to solve all the problems. It's an option if you need
Yeah.
it. Go to counseling or reach out to somebody, ask for help, even if you just want to take a shower. Like, yes, it is a legitimate thing that you would like a shower with the door closed. That is okay. There's no
Yes.
shame in that. It doesn't make you a bad
No.
mom. It doesn't make you a bad person. And if
No.
you ask your friend to come over and you don't have a conversation with them and all you want to do is sit in your room, it needs to be okay. Because a true friend will not come to your house to see what I can get out of that time, but we'll see what can I offer you in that time, and
Yes.
especially when you're in a time of need.
Right.
If somebody wanted to connect with you and ask questions, or if they need a doula, a postpartum doula, or if they need a postpartum chef, what a
Yeah.
beautiful ministry that you have.
Yeah.
How could they connect with you?
So I am an open book. I believe that, transparency is where it's at. And so you will always get that from me. Page is up. It's Amy B. Doula OKC. It's on Instagram. You can see a lot of my work on there. But I also check my email very consistently. So my email is connect@amyvarghese.com. And then my services and my testimony, it's on my page. It's on my website. It's amyvarghese.com.
Thank you so much, Amy. What an honor to have you here today. This was such a blessing to hear your story. And I know a lot of your story too, but to hear it in this way, it was really, really sweet. What a encouraging testimony. Mother of two, woman of faith, entrepreneur, business owner, doula, PT tech. Like, you wear so many hats and you are doing such a great job. You are a great mom. And the fact that you have a heart for other moms is so beautiful. And it just shows the love of God in you. I see you loving people really, really well. Listeners, if you have any questions for Amy, you have her contact information. Let's confront all of the cultural norms that we grew up with and let us live a life defined by God's word and defined by the one who designed us, not by the culture we grew up in. Thank you so much for joining me. God bless you.